Hiya, it's Nax and welcome back to my channel. What's up, you guys? I miss you all so much and it feels so good to be back. I feel like Billy feels the same way. And this video is special because a lot of you guys have been waiting for this video. This is my build video for one of my personal PCs. His name is Kratos. He's a beast, and I think you guys are gonna love him. First things first, the inspiration is from God of War. It's one of my favorite, if not my most favorite franchises of all time. And I mean the entire franchise, from the first game up until the last. So I really wanted to be able to tell Kratos' story about his life from the earlier games up until the later games in the build. So be on the lookout for any small details and Easter eggs that you guys may be able to see throughout the video. Next is the look of the build. So I was really inspired by the Fear Kratos skin from God of War 3. So you're going to notice that this build has a lot of black in it, barely any RGB, and I did want to make sure that it still had that mainstream look despite of all the modifications that I did to it, which is why I decided to go for one of the more popular cases, which is the Liang. And lastly, I wanted to cram in as much as I could into this build, which forced me to use some creative and critical thinking in trying to solve problems that popped up along the way, and it almost felt as if I was building on a smaller form factor even though I wasn't. Lastly, before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to Hank from Performance PCs. And Hank believed in me that I could actually create something amazing with this build. And he was one of the very first people who did that. Even though I knew that I could do it, it meant a lot to me to get his support and to believe in my vision. So thank you so much, Hank, for believing in me. I also want to give a quick shout out to Garrett from Performance PCs. All right, with that said, let's get started. I'm super excited, you guys. I'm going to be building out of the Liang Evo case. As you guys can see, the case is inverted. The motherboard will be right over here, so it's going to be a lefty. I'm going to have an upright GPU over here on this side. And it's going to be more of an experimental build because I will be doing a push-pull configuration for the top and bottom radiator. Now, I'm not even sure if it's going to fit, but it's going to be fun to see if we'll be able to fit it in because the radiators that I'm going to be using will be 58 millimeters. So yeah, it's gonna be a challenge. So we're just gonna install the motherboard in the case first so that we could see if the radiator and the fans would all fit in. So this is the radiator that I'll be using. This is from EK's Quantum Surface line and it's called the X360. So this is the thickest radiator that they have. It's 58 millimeters thick. One of the cool things about this radiator is that you can take it apart. So you can take apart the sides and the end shrouds and you could paint it or powder coat it. And that's actually what I had done by Performance PCs, and that's one of the services that they offer. They can powder coat things for you. Everything's off the radiator. We have the sides and then we have our end shrouds, and it's cool because you could customize your radiator to basically look whatever the way you want it to look. But don't just take my word for it because I actually did it. So if you're into this kind of stuff, I highly recommend you check out my other videos in the Kratos build playlist where I take the radiator pieces and got them to a mirror chrome finish. It was a lot of work, but I got some really good results. I even took it a step further and electroplated the pieces to a beautiful black nickel finish. Whoa, look at that. What in the world? You can see here they came out beautiful, and you'll be able to see the results toward the end of the video. So I'm not all that concerned about the fitting at the top. For the bottom though, I'm not so sure because there's a part in the motherboard that's protruding right over here. Just line it up. Okay, next let's check out the fan clearance at the top. So it's obviously going to be fit over here and here, but this part right here, I'm a little bit worried about because if you guys can see over this at this corner, it's sort of hitting the protruding part of the motherboard. However, I'm thinking since I'm going to be moving the radiator forward 2 to 3 millimeters, it might be able to clear off. It might be able to clear. But in case it won't, I'm just going to have to Dremel a little bit over here at this corner. So yeah, that's what we're working with. How are we gonna do this? Ganito gagawin natin. So these are the screws that secure the radiator. So we want to move the radiator forward by 2 to 3 millimeters. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna Dremel like a half moon crescent over here at the top, and that would and because of that we'll be able to move the screws forward. So the screws will then be right over here. And we're going to do that for all the screws that are securing the radiator. And ergo, we're going to be able to move the radiator 2 to 3 millimeters forward. So one of the measurements was 135 millimeters. So I'm just going to make a mark right here. And once we have that, we can measure the distance from all the other mounting points because we already have this mark. So the small gaps are 15 millimeters. Large ones are 105. Alright guys, so we're all done. I've successfully created the mounting points that we need for our radiator. So the mounting points are right over here, 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 and over here. And fingers crossed that we'll have enough space to clear our motherboard. Moment of truth. Oh. It's in, you guys. Oh my goodness. We did it, we did it. We have some space between our radiator. So as you guys can see right over here, see it's not touching the heatsink anymore. And as for the fan, let me get this fan. Oh my goodness, see? The fan's not heating. The fan is not hitting the motherboard anymore. Sorry, my accent came out there just now because I got so excited. We did it, guys. We did it. Okay, so next up, we're gonna be unboxing the CPUs. So I'm gonna be using the i9 13th gen. Now in the previous video, I did say I was gonna use a 12th gen, but I decided to use the 13th gen instead, and I'm gonna use the 12th gen for a different build. So now let's unbox this, and then we're gonna mount the CPU onto the motherboard. Use this. Aww. So good. My bad. We had one last final change to the CPU. This is the last one, I promise. We are going to be using the 13900KS, a brand new 13900KS. So why don't we go ahead and live life on the edge, void our warranty, and delete it. I do eventually want to really get into overclocking, so I went ahead and deleted the CPU, which is a process where you remove the IHS and let the water block make direct contact on the die for cooler temps. If you want a more detailed look, check out the playlist or link. Billy! Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Did I hit you? Okay, so we're gonna unbox the rest of the fans, we're gonna prep them, and then we're gonna spray paint them. And the reason why I'm spray painting them is because one, I want them to look a little bit cooler than they already do. And two, there is this print over at the side, and the problem is I'm gonna be placing this fan in a way that the print is gonna be showing towards us. So here I'm masking the fans to prevent paint from getting on the fans themselves because that would add weight to them and throw off the balance. From there, I sanded the surface, then applied the primer. After that, I added light coats of the color layer with light sanding before the last color coat. Finally, I finished it off with 2 protective coats of clear. The whole process is time-consuming, but it was important to take the time to get a good result. Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to be planning the loop of Kratos. We're going to figure out how we want our tubes to look like, and it's gonna be fun. I always like doing this part. So how I like to start things off is I take a photo of the system with most of the stuff in it, and I draw on top of it using an app on my iPad. I do usually have a main idea for each system that I work on, and I work around that main idea. Loop order doesn't really matter anymore. Back then, people used to think that your loop order would matter, meaning where your loop starts and ends, or where it passes through, would make a huge difference as to the temp of the coolant. So the loop for this one didn't take too long to plan out because the spacing and options for the loop were so limiting, and it really narrowed down the choices. The other luxury that I had was that I got to design and plan my own custom Distroplate, since Performance PCs offers custom work. Now, I had an idea in mind for a distro for the case. To make it easier to show you what I had in mind, here's the exact video that I sent to Garrett of Performance PCs. The cool thing about this case is that it has this bracket that you could slide on like this, and then you could plop it here at the bottom like that. Now, imagine if instead of the bracket, it's the actual distro plate. So that's the idea that I have. This would be the distro plate, and the distro plate would have the same position of the screws on the side. Instead of attaching it on the bracket, I would just, like I said, plop in the distro plate, because that way there will be more space. Oh, he's writing. Okay, he's still writing. All right. Okay, this is gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. He has so much to say. And this is it. Huh? So we've got our initial cuts in. There's a little bit too much length, which is better because it's always better to just overshoot these things and to cut off if you have too much length instead of not having enough. 5 millimeters, 13 millimeters. So we're gonna cut off 30 millimeters on this side and 5 millimeters on this. Okay, so I just took off a little bit and we are good. Blah, blah. So we've got the GPU in. Next, I'm gonna be measuring this port right here, going to this port. So 380. It's stormy. My little stress ball. So we've got 380 long, around 380 millimeters long, 104, 105 millimeter. But we're gonna lessen the height of the port here, 3.5. So around 100 millimeters. Let's make it 101. The level is showing that we're at 0.1 degrees, so my table is not completely level. It's as close as we're gonna get. Okay, 0.1, we're good. Now let's just deburr it, and then we'll move on to the next one. We're about 112 millimeters from this point to the center. For this point, it's around 75 millimeters. It was a little bit too long, so we'll just chop off a bit more. So this is what we have so far, and right off the bat I can see that we're gonna have to fix some stuff, starting with the two main tubing right over here. They're not even, so I'm gonna have to fix that with some offsets. And then we have this tubing right under there. This is going to be a special one, and you guys will see it later. I'm gonna have to bring it forward a little bit so that it's less hidden. There we go. I added a 7 millimeter offset over here so that I could raise it up so that it's at the same level as this tube over here. And then I added a 7 millimeter extender over here because I already cut the tube. Now this one and this tube right here, is perfectly aligned just like I had it in my head. All right, now where is my shoelace? I hate the excess bulk that comes with the cables from power supply units, which is why I love ordering custom cables. Look at the detail on this thing. I mean, it's only 13 millimeters, but it has so much detail. This is it. We're practicing first because I only have 2 good badges. I do not have the steadiest of fingers, so I have to get this right. Otherwise, we're gonna have to print everything all over again. I'm shaking so much. See how I placed it a little bit too low? So we'll do one more practice. No, it's all the way to the side. No, this is bad. This is the worst attempt. So wait. I was practicing this while it wasn't recording and I wasn't as nervous. And now that it is recording, I feel like all of you guys are looking at me and it's making me nervous. Practicing the drop. Old man from Toy Story 2, lend me your powers of precision. This is it. Yes! We did it! To our last 2 holes. Now we could just poke a hole and jam the screw in, but that's not how we do things around here. So we're just gonna make some clean cuts. And we're done.